We have talked in the past about some of the weird individual traits that some servants have. Things like immune to pigify, moon, and high servant. These traits exist for the purpose of synergy with skills and noble phantasms, and in order to avoid certain overpowered applications, usually have a bit of loose logic applied here and there to them. However, there is an entirely different set of labels applied to every servant that are equally as weird. Attributes. This is something that people tend to forget exists until a mission event tells them to kill 15 servants with the Earth attribute, and then you're like, what the hell is the Earth attribute? These are a different damage multiplier applied to every servant alongside their class, but the damage mult is so little it rarely comes into play. These attributes are Man, Earth, Sky, Star, and Beast. Man has a 1.1 times mult against Sky and a 0.9 mult against Earth. Earth has a 1.1 against Man and a 0.9 against Sky, and Sky has a 1.1 against Earth and a 0.9 against Man. Star has a 1.1 against Beast, and Beast has a 1.1 against Star. But what do all of these mean? Manservants are servants that were humans who achieved greatness through their deeds. Think of somebody like Caesar. Historically, he existed and was an integral part of the fabric of history. Earth servants are those that originate from mythology and are usually larger than life. Think of Arturia, for instance. Despite most likely being fictional, the impact King Arthur has had on history is enormous. Sky are beings or people with a level of elevated divinity, whether they are gods, demigods, or humans with connections to the divine. Think of somebody like Artemis. For all intents and purposes, she is a god with an elevated level of divinity. Star is a bit more confusing. These are people who directly change the course of human history with their lives, the quote-unquote embodiments of humanity's hope. The best example of this is Tesla, whose innovations in the field of electricity helped revolutionize humanity. This also includes the servant-verse servants. Beasts are just as they sound. Beasts of humanity. This attribute is reserved exclusively for those that are beasts. Now that we understand the rules, let's start making fun of them. FGO has a bit of a problem with these in that they decided to clearly lay out the qualifying factors that register a servant for each of these attributes. This means there is some utter nonsense in the works that we are going to talk about here. Before that though, let's play a game. As I introduce the servants we will be talking about, keep a continuous list in the comments of what trait you thought they were, and then tally your score at the very end. Let's start with the one that kind of got me interested in this topic. Bedivere, my boy Bedi. You would think that he, along with the rest of the Knights of the Round Table, would fit into the Earth category. He is a member of an influential legend and a larger-than-life figure, but no, even here he is separated from his king, being registered as a Star Servant. This one makes an inkling of sense to me, but not enough to warrant a whole attribute shift. In myth, Bedivere is responsible for essentially killing King Arthur. He fails to do so twice, but on the third attempt does successfully return the sword to the lake. The idea is that by having King Arthur die, a new era of humanity in England was ushered in, thus meaning Star would be fitting. The problem is that when you see Bedi next to true revolutionaries like Francis Drake, Tesla, and Napoleon, he looks very out of place. It could be rationalized that this is meant to be symbolic of Caldeo's Bedivere, the one who gave his life in Camelot, but that just doesn't feel like a good enough excuse. As much as I love him, he did not revolutionize humanity. You know who did though? Thomas Edison, controversial figure in history and certainly an interesting man. Just like Tesla, he is credited with helping to create an easily accessible and also powerful form of electricity that would bring humanity into a new golden age. He is relegated to having the man attribute. Leaving aside the lion face for a moment, this still makes no sense. Edison was just as influential as Tesla in the creation of accessible electricity, and dare I say he is more well known than Tesla for his contributions. So then, why is he relegated to simply being a man? Well, you can say that has something to do with all of the presidents of the United States being in his body, but there's an equal argument to say that some of them, certainly not all, would technically qualify for the star attribute as well. Perhaps he's also watered down by the lion, but then he should theoretically be registered as an Earth servant as well. Quite frankly, this one just feels like Tesla favoritism. First they make Tesla the 5-star, and then they make him the historical turning point. Seems a little bit biased. Let's keep the biased viewpoint going for a second to talk about Chloe. One of the servants of all time, Chloe is a clone of Ilia but with a base component being the heroic spirit Emmia. This was caused by something to do with the class cards in Aprilia and the fact that the two are actually twins, but Ilia was the one who was chosen to experience life. It's a whole thing. Chloe, having two spirit cores to pull from, those being Ilia, Emmia, and if you want to be more technical, Kiritsuga and Eri, should be a man attribute servant. Instead, she is Sky. This makes no sense. My initial theory was that it's hereditary from Irisfiel, who is also a Sky Servant, but this immediately falls through when you consider that Ilia is not a Sky Servant. Maybe though, given their different births, this would register Chloe as a Sky instead. She wasn't exactly given the most traditional birth after all. This also falls apart because of one key factor. Summer Chloe, who is, you guessed it, man. Maybe there is something more to the summer form that I am completely unaware of, but as it stands, this really doesn't add up. Let's talk about one of the more unique attribute classes, Beast. As the name implies, this class is consistent of beasts of humanity, but there is one outlier, Kiara. Now, she should be in this class given that she is a pacified beast. I really take no issue with her attribute being beast, except for one key detail. She is the only summoned beast that we have that still retains her beast attributes, save for one other. Kama and Tiamat both lose their beast attributes. I'm excluding both of the Koyan Skies from this because they are not true beasts but beast candidates. Draco is there too, but she's kind of weird and also, you know, a beast class, so that makes sense. Kama and Tiamat were real deal beasts of humanity. Just a reminder that both of them are fully aware of their bestial nature as well. Tiamat and Kama both remember and remind you that they were once beasts. So, why only Kiara? I'll be honest, I have no idea. Much like Chloe, explanations could be posited, if not for the fact that her summer form does not maintain the attribute, with her summer form arguably being closer to a beast. I suppose you can put a beast in a nun's habit, but can't take the beast out of the nun. My last one for this particular section is Van Gogh. Van Gogh has, shall we say, a lot going on. She is a man, a myth, and an alien all at the same time. So, where on Earth do we place her then? Well, I kind of just answered that. Earth. Van Gogh, along with the majority of the foreigners, all fall under the Earth category. For the others, this is more explainable. Abby, for instance, could theoretically be a manservant, but because a core part of her spirit origin, Yog-Sothoth, is from a story that makes up modern myth, then she qualifies for Earth. Makes sense. Except it doesn't. FGO has, on more than one occasion, confirmed that the old gods of Lovecraft's myths are actually real. Bedi communed with Nyarlathotep during the summer event, the Abbey in Salem is actively exploring the universe as we speak, Hokusai fought Cthulhu and won, hence why he is able to control Oi's body while under extreme cosmic corruption, and as such, the Earth attribute no longer makes any sense. If anything, every Lovecraftian foreigner should be either man for their vessel or sky for their eldritch communion. Van Gogh in particular is weird because if we run by this logic, she makes the least amount of sense. With the rules laid out for what attribute a servant should be, her being Earth of all things is bizarre. Sky is right there and significantly more fitting, especially considering that her man aspect has more or less been relegated to memories, a paintbrush, and habits. My last section here features four servants and includes a bit of spoilers for the ordeal calls. Nothing major aside from appearances and names, but if you want to be safe and close out now, thanks for watching and subscribe. These servants are Altera, Sheba, and both fire and water Olga. What do all of these servants have in common? If your answer was that they are all manservants, you'd be right. Let's break down why it's so strange. Starting with Altera, she isn't a human. She's an alien. Always has been. She fell to Earth and then acted as a dominating tyrant for a few decades and vanished. Also, for those familiar with Fate Extra, she's Sephir. This guy. This is not a man. By the logic that has been used, she would be a star or sky. Hell, even Earth would make sense and chalk her up to performing legendary exploits. But man makes absolutely no sense. Second is Sheba. Sheba, even in the original religious text, is not just a mere woman. She was always viewed as somewhat mystical, with many legends giving her hooves instead of feet. By that logic, she should immediately be in the Earth category. But FGO goes further, as her mother is confirmed to be a djinn and her father a very lucky man. This immediately should put her into the Earth category, which also classifies the more monstrous servants such as Lobo. Yet, no, she is still considered a man. Finally, we have the Olgas. Admittedly, I don't know why there are elemental Olgas, and I plan to find that out on my own time, so don't tell me. However, what I do know is that while Olga Marie is certainly a human, Madam President here is not. Not fully, at least. Given her origins, it would make more sense for her to be Sky, especially given the whole, alien god thing that we've been reading about for the last 6 years. Honestly, there is a compelling argument for making her a star servant, given that her appearance has caused a massive change in human history, but I digress. And those are some of the weirder servant attribute pairs that I found, but there are certainly still others. Let me know who you think is a strange combo down in the comments. How did your scores pan out? If you want more content like this, consider supporting the channel by subscribing or checking out the Patreon. You should also swing by the Twitch to help me get to partner. Check my links below as well, but for now guys, keep your chin up, peace.